Hello and welcome to Dad Got This. We're answering the tough questions like, can I put a spooky twist on an Italian classic using my Ninja Woodfire? And why did the skeleton push the doorbell? That second one's easy. He was a dead ringer. It's spooky season and I'm craving meatballs. We're going to make some stuffed meatloaf. Kind of depends on what you call it because it's not going to really be a ball. It is going to be in the shape of a skull. We're gonna make some stuffed meat skulls, smoke them, and put them in a red sauce. Let's do it. The first thing you will need is some sort of silicone mold for making skulls. I got this on Amazon. I'll throw a link down in the description. It's like 10 bucks. For this recipe, I'm going with a modified version of my Sunday sauce Italian meatballs, just slightly modified, and I'm 4Xing the recipe because I'm going to make a lot of meatballs, cook them, and freeze them so I have them around. First thing I'm gonna do, 4 eggs. 2 pounds of ground beef. I'm using some 80/20. I'm guessing if I cut this little guy off here, this is a 3-pound log. I think I did pretty good, pretty close to 2 pounds. And to keep it authentic, I'm using both ground veal and ground pork. It just adds an amazing texture to your meatballs. It is worth tracking down some veal. The ratio I like to use is 1/2 of ground beef, 1/4 of ground veal, and 1/4 of ground pork. That seems to make a really nice texture and well-flavored meatball. So we got 2 pounds of beef, 1 pound of veal, and 1 pound of pork. 1 15-ounce container of whole milk ricotta cheese, about 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. To keep the cost down, I'm just gonna add 1 cup. That didn't work. Of Pecorino Romano cheese, and I think we need a bigger bowl. We're gonna go with 2 cups of breadcrumbs. We're gonna add in 2 tablespoons of sea salt, a tablespoon of black pepper, our eggs, 1, 2, 3 tablespoons of granulated garlic, 1, 2, 3 tablespoons of granulated onion. This should give us a pretty good mix for meatballs. And the only way to do this is with your hands. And you just get in here and mix. You want everything fully incorporated as well as you can. Like I said, I'm doing the lazy version of the perfect version of the meatballs. I'm not going and mixing all the dries together and mixing the wet together to make it perfectly incorporate. I'm just going for some easy, fast meatballs. You want them sticky, but not wet. Make sure you're checking for pockets of ingredients that kind of get mixed around here. You're kind of squeezing them between your hands. You also don't want to kind of overwork this too much and turn it into a paste. You still want some chunky meat structure, but you just want to make sure that everything is nicely mixed. Almost like kneading bread. This is some mozzarella. Part skim, easy melt, Italian style mozzarella. I'm gonna spray this with a little bit of Wagyu beef tallow, hopefully as like a release. I don't know if I'm gonna need to chill these before I take them out or not, but we'll see. So I'm gonna press it in really hard. We're gonna pop in a couple of good chunks. All right, 4 chunks I think sounds good. And we're gonna top it back off with more meat, trying to make sure we seal the cheese in so they don't leak out. Now, the test is gonna be, can I pop it out and will it retain its shape? I really want it to kind of look like the skull. For now, I'm gonna leave that in there and we're gonna do the rest. Get a little bit of meat in the bottom of each one. It's kind of like a fun little thing. I think the kids would love to see this, to see a skull, meatball, meatloaf, whatever they end up being. They're a little big to be a meatball, but you know what? Who's really judging? There we go. The rest of this, I'm just gonna turn into regular meatballs and cook off separately and then freeze them. So I have meatballs laying around the house. That's always good. Our next step is to set up the wood fire. While I'm setting up the wood fire, I'm gonna stick these in the freezer, see if it kind of chills them down, makes them even firmer and better for smoking. To smoke, grab your pellet hopper and fill it with some pellets. I'm using smoking pecan pellets. Grab it, give it the dad shake. The dad shake either compacts the pellets and makes it burn better.
separates the pellets and gives it lots of air and makes it burn better, or does absolutely nothing and just makes me feel like it burns better, I still do it every time.
We're gonna set it to smoker for temp. We are gonna go to 275 for time. We're gonna go, I don't know, 4 hours. I don't think it'll take that long.
You say you like brisket, ribs, and pumpkin pie, but can you handle the dad jokes that come with them? My cookbook, Bad Jokes, Good Food, has over 24 Woodfire recipes guaranteed to make you hungry and groan at the same time. Order your copy now at dadgotthis.com.
While I was cleaning up and getting everything ready, these bad boys spent 20 minutes in the freezer. So let's see if we can get them out in skull form. So a little harder to do where I can't turn it upside down. And old One-Eye Willie here. That's pretty good, right? If it retains any of that detail, I'm gonna be stoked. Let's get these guys on the smoker. It's ready. And I'm just gonna leave those guys on the smoker, check them every once in a while, and we're going for a 165 Fahrenheit internal temperature. While those are cooking, let's knock out a quick red sauce. And I'm gonna cook this the old school way. I'm just going by feel. I will throw a great recipe for a red sauce down there in there so you don't have to remember exactly everything I do, but this is the way that I was taught to cook. We're gonna set a pan over medium heat. Into that pan is going to go some olive oil. Not a lot, just enough to kind of coat the bottom a little bit. Garlic, a good amount. I don't know, 3 or 4 cloves. That should do it. Make sure you keep your heat nice and low for this first part. You don't want to burn the garlic. You just want to get it nice and fragrant and smelling good. It doesn't take very long. We're going to throw in some garlic powder, maybe a tablespoon, a little bit of onion powder, same thing, maybe a tablespoon. And we're going to kind of toast this off with the regular garlic. And that is going to help intensify those dried spice flavors and just add a really nice flavor to your sauce. You need a little bit of extra oil. You can go ahead and add that. I want it kind of sauteing in the oil, not just being clumpy in the oil. This already smells fantastic. A little bit of tomato paste. This is probably, I don't know, 3 ounces. This is a 4.5 ounce thing. I have about half of it left. We're gonna cook that down with the spices, get it nice and browned. You want it to start to darken, which means you're developing some of the sweetness of the tomato flavor in there. The key to this is to have a nice medium to medium low heat. You do not want this too hot. When I first learned to cook, there was one temperature, high. That was a huge mistake that it took me a long time to get over. I think a lot of people, when they first start cooking, they just turn everything on high and think, oh, if I'll just cook it shorter period of time. No, heat control is actually pretty important. Okay, we're gonna let that kind of do its thing for a little bit. This is a San Marzano style tomato, not San Marzano. I actually like buying these because of how expensive stuff is right now, especially imported items. And I did a taste test of these and they came out very close to the expensive San Marzanos. So this is my tomato of choice. All right, I'm starting to get a little bit of really dark browning in there. So these are gonna go in. This one's nice because it has basil and sea salt in it and it's already crushed. Scrape the bottom of that pan. I'm gonna add in a touch of basil, even though this already has some basil in the tomatoes. And I'm gonna lower that heat down even further. I haven't added any salt to this yet because there is some salt in those tomatoes. So I'm gonna let it cook for a little bit and then give it a taste. But I know I can add a pinch of black pepper. This is a little thick, so I'm gonna add some water to this can and then pour it in there. Now that we have our water in there, we can bring it up a little bit so it'll come to a simmer. Now that it's at a simmer, we can go ahead and give it a quick little stir and taste. Way undersalted, needs a whole lot more salt. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they're making their red sauce at home and they're like, why doesn't it taste like what I taste at the restaurant? You are undersalting your red sauce. Your red sauce really needs a good punch of salt to balance the acidity of the tomatoes. There's salt in cheese. I'm going to add in a bit of cheese. This is gonna adjust the texture of the sauce. It's gonna add some saltiness. Go slowly. Gonna go with about a teaspoon of salt to start. Stir it in. Make sure you get it all throughout. And let it simmer again for a little bit. That's gonna help the salt distribute before you retaste. Now, if you are doing this for somebody other than yourself, use a separate tasting spoon every time you taste. If you are just cooking for yourself and your family and they don't care, feel free to use the same spoon more than once. Just that, 100 times better. Still needs a little something. I'm gonna go with a little bit more salt, another teaspoon. And since we are pretty close, I'm gonna add in 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. This is just gonna add a velvety mouthfeel to your sauce. This is not quite traditional Italian, but I love doing it to my sauce. It makes a big difference. I like the way it tastes. You don't, leave it out. Stir it in until that butter has completely dissolved and the new salt has gotten absorbed. That's just about perfect. I think it needs a pinch more of cheese and it'll be done. And there you have a really simple red sauce. That's perfect. You can serve it just like this right now. But since we are waiting on our skulls to finish smoking, I'm gonna go sit this on the stove on low heat, babysit it, stirring it every 10 minutes, and just let that flavor intensify and get even better. The longer you slowly simmer this sauce, the better it will taste. You also notice I didn't add any sugar. If you use a good tomato, you should not need any sugar in your sauce. About an hour and 40 minutes later, about 185. They didn't retain much of my skull shape. I think the sculliest one is this one. He looks kind of scully. Other than that, they just look kind of like meatloafs. I could maybe carve them to make them look better. I don't know if maybe freezing it even more solid would have made them stay better, but as they cook, the meat's gonna expand and kind of do this. This might be better with a baked good, something like a cornbread or something, skull cornbreads. Maybe I'll do those next time. But, I mean, I have the mold now. They look kind of cool. I think I can make something look decent. Hold on. Honestly, the only thing that matters really is how's it taste. I've never done a smoky meatball like this. Cheers. Oh yeah, that tastes great. You get the cheese in the middle, really nice crust on the outside of the meatball, it adds that nice texture, a little bit of smoky flavor. I'm partial, but my red sauce is amazing. Overall, I am super happy with the way that came out. They may not have 100% held their shape from the skull, but I got one that looks like a skull, so I consider that a win. You definitely don't have to go through the whole skull thing. Literally, just make them into meatballs and smoke them. They will be fantastic. If you guys are enjoying this content, please do the likey subscribe thing. YouTube loves it when you leave a like. I love it when you leave a comment. I answer just about every comment in my comment section. You really want to support the channel, consider becoming a member. You get all kinds of benefits, but if you can't, subscribing would be enough. With all that out of the way, I guess there's only one question left to answer. Why didn't the skeleton go on the roller coaster? Because it didn't have the guts. Pretty bad. Terrible, actually. Dad may tell horrible dad jokes. Make some fantastic smoked meatballs in the shape of sort of skulls. But one thing Dad will never do is an outro. So that's it. Bye.
This is the part where I thank all of my members. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you so much for your support, and rock on. I don't know why I said rock on, but rock on.